I'm Margaret Ellison, and at 75, I've built an empire from dirt and dreams. My vineyard, Ellison Estates, stretches across the rolling hills of Napa Valley, its vines heavy with grapes that have made my name synonymous with fine wine. But on my 75th birthday, the grand house I built felt empty, its oak-paneled walls echoing with a silence that wasn't peace, it was absence. The chandelier above my dining table cast shadows over a single place setting, and the grandfather clock in the hall ticked like a judge's gavel. My three daughters, Claire, Sophie, and Amelia, were all I had left after my husband, Thomas, passed a decade ago. I raised them with love, gave them everything, believing it would honor his memory. I was wrong. My phone sat on the table, dark and silent. I didn't expect a visit. Claire's in New York, Sophie's in LA, Amelia's in Paris. But I hoped for a call, a card, something to mark the day. I'd poured my wealth into their lives. Private schools, penthouses, trust funds that paid for their whims. A fashion line for Claire, a wellness brand for Sophie, a gallery for Amelia. I thought it would give them freedom to find their purpose. Instead, it bred entitlement, turning them into strangers who saw me as a vault, not a mother. The phone pinged, a sharp sound in the quiet. My heart lifted, thinking one of them had remembered. But it was an email from a shared account they used for family business. The subject line was blunt: Ellison Estates proposal. My chest tightened as I opened it. The words were cold, corporate, signed by all three. Mom, it's time to sell the vineyard. It's a relic, and we need the capital for our ventures. This is for the family's future. Let's discuss ASAP. No birthday wishes, no warmth, just a demand to dismantle the empire I'd built from a single acre to fund their latest failures? I read it again, the words slicing deeper each time. The vineyard wasn't just a business. It was my life, my legacy, born from years of toil under scorching sun and sleepless nights. They didn't see the calluses on my hands, the nights I'd cried over failed harvests, the pride of seeing my label on tables worldwide. They saw dollars, not dreams. Memories of Thomas flooded back. He'd been my partner, pruning vines beside me, his laughter filling the fields. We'd raised our girls to value hard work, but after he died, I overcompensated, giving them everything to shield them from pain. I funded Claire's boutiques, Sophie's retreats, Amelia's exhibitions, never questioning their demands. I thought it was love. It was a mistake. They'd misinterpreted my generosity for weakness, my silence for surrender. I set the phone down, my hands steady despite the fire in my chest. They'd crossed a line, and I was done. I dialed my lawyer, Evelyn Carter. Evelyn, I said, my voice calm but iron hard, we're meeting tomorrow. I'm rewriting the will. Evelyn's office in San Francisco smelled of leather and ambition, a stark contrast to the earthy scent of my vineyard. She slid a folder across her desk, labeled Ellison Family Trust. Everything's here, she said, her eyes sharp. The penthouses, the credit lines, the monthly allowances, all tied to your assets, all under your control as trustee. Revoke it all, I said. Claire, Sophie, Amelia, they're out. The allowances, the leases, the cards, cut 'em off. And the vineyard? I paused, picturing the rows of vines that had been my life's work. Transfer its ownership to a cooperative for the workers who've tended it for decades. They deserve it more than my daughters. Evelyn raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. She'd seen the email. I'd forwarded it that morning. This is a seismic shift, Marguerite, she said, pen poised. You're certain? I've never been clearer, I replied. I gave them everything, and they demanded I erase my life's work. They need to learn what it means to stand without my money. By noon, the will was rewritten. My daughters' names were erased as beneficiaries, replaced by the Ellison Workers Cooperative, which would manage the vineyard's profits to support its workers and fund community programs. The trust's assets, valued at over $50 million, would ensure the vineyard thrived for those who'd poured their sweat into it. Driving home, I felt a quiet resolve. This wasn't just about cutting them off. It was about reclaiming my legacy and teaching them a lesson they'd never forget. I knew their worlds began to collapse that day. I could picture Claire in her Manhattan boutique trying to buy a new display, only to have her card declined. She'd scoff, try another, her face reddening as the clerk's polite smile turned awkward. Sophie, at some LA wellness retreat, would find her account empty, her spa package canceled. Amelia, in a Parisian cafe, would face the same humiliation, her credit line severed. Their calls to me went straight to voicemail. Their texts bounced back with red error messages. I'd blocked them all. They tried everything. Emails from new accounts, letters sent to my estate, even messages through mutual contacts. I didn't respond. Silence was my weapon, a wall they couldn't climb. Their penthouses were repossessed, their allowances gone. They sold designer bags and jewelry, but the money vanished fast. Their social circles, built on my wealth, crumbled as their influence faded. Then came the confrontation. My security system pinged 3 vehicles approaching. I knew it was them. I was in the vineyard, walking the rows, the scent of grapes grounding me. I wore noise-canceling earbuds, Vivaldi's 4 Seasons filling my head. Through the estate's iron gates, I felt their presence. Claire's sharp voice, Sophie's dramatic tears, Amelia's indignant shouts. They pounded the intercom, demanding I face them. I didn't look up. I checked a vine, noting its health, my hands steady. My security team arrived, led by Javier, a worker who'd been with me for 20 years. He told them they were trespassing, his tone calm but firm. They left defeated, their voices swallowed by my silence. I wasn't done. The next move was calculated to hit them where it hurt most. Evelyn sent an email from Carter and Associates, meeting regarding the Ellison Family Trust. It invited them to her office, hinting at a discussion about the trust's future. I knew they'd see it as a lifeline, a chance to beg their way back. They had no idea it was the final act of my revenge. They arrived together, a rare united front. The conference room was imposing, its mahogany cable gleaming under fluorescent lights, the Napa Valley visible through the glass wall. They looked diminished. Claire's designer suit replaced by a thrift store blazer. Sophie's yoga gear faded. Amelia's makeup barely hiding her exhaustion. They thought their presence would sway me, that their apologies would unlock the vault. Claire spoke first, her voice practiced. "Mom, we're so sorry. That email was a mistake, sent in haste. We were stressed, trying to secure our futures. We love you. We just want to be a family again." Sophie chimed in, tears in her eyes. "We didn't mean to hurt you. We've learned our lesson. Please, let's fix this." Amelia, always the boldest, leaned forward. "We know the vineyard means a lot to you. We'll respect it. Just give us a chance." I let them talk, my face unreadable. Their words were a performance, apologizing for the fallout, not the act. They weren't sorry for demanding I sell my life's work. They were sorry their accounts were empty. When they finished, the silence was heavy. I slid a leather-bound document across the table, its weight a soft thud. "Read it," I said, my voice as cold as the morning frost on my vines. Claire opened it, her sisters leaning in, their eyes scanning the legal text. They searched for the clauses that had funded their lives, the allowances, the penthouses, the credit lines. I guided them. Page 10, Section 2, Primary Beneficiaries. Sophie's breath caught as she read. Clause 2.1, naming them as beneficiaries, was gone. Clause 2.2, detailing their $20,000 monthly allowances, was deleted. I pointed to page 14. The new directive, I said. The trust's assets, including the vineyard's $50 million value, now fund the Ellison Workers Cooperative. Evelyn spoke, her tone clinical. The cooperative will manage the vineyard's operations and profits, supporting its workers and funding community programs, including scholarships for local youth to study agriculture and business. Amelia's voice was a whisper. So the money's gone? All of it? I leaned forward, my eyes locking onto theirs. Not gone, redirected to the people who've tended these vines for decades, who know their worth. You demanded I sell my life's work for your failures. Your father and I built this from nothing. You never touched the soil, never understood its value. Now you'll learn what it means to earn something. Claire's face crumpled. Why, Mom? Why would you do this to us? I turned a page in my copy of the document, the sound sharp in the silence. I called the vineyard a relic, I said. You wanted to sell it like a used car. I didn't. I gave it to those who deserve it. Their lives unraveled further after that meeting. Evelyn kept me informed, not for gossip, but as a record. Their penthouses were gone, their belongings sold. Claire took a job as a retail manager, Sophie as a yoga instructor, Amelia as a gallery assistant. Ironic, given her failed venture. Then I learned Claire had applied to work at the vineyard's cooperative, using a false name. I'd ensured the job ad reached her, knowing desperation would draw her in. It was my final move, not to destroy her, but to force her to face the legacy she'd dismissed. The cooperative was thriving, its workers now co-owners, their families benefiting from the trust's programs. I visited one evening, unrecognized, watching Claire sort grapes in the sorting room. Her hands were stained, her face tired but focused. She was learning the work I'd done for decades. I left a small token, a bottle of our first vintage, labeled with a note, "To Claire, who might yet understand. Mom." I wanted her to find it, to feel the weight of what she'd lost. She did. Months later, I heard she'd enrolled in a viticulture course funded by the cooperative scholarship program. Sophie and Amelia followed, taking jobs at the vineyard, their pride humbled. They were learning, not as daughters, but as workers. 6 months later, I stood at the cooperative's first community gala, addressing workers and locals under the vineyard's starlit sky. The air smelled of grapes and hope. I spoke of Thomas, of the vines we'd planted together, and of the cooperative as a legacy for those who valued it. As I stepped down, Claire approached, holding a small notebook. She looked different, stronger, her hands calloused. "Mom," she said, her voice steady, "I found your note. And I wrote this." She handed me a plan for a new community wine tasting event, simple but thoughtful. "I'm sorry. Not for the money, for forgetting what this place means." I read it, my heart softening slightly. "It's a start," I said. "Keep working." "Can we talk someday?" she asked, her sisters behind her, eyes hopeful. "As family?" I looked at the vines, alive with purpose. "Earn it," I told them. "Show me you understand this land." Claire nodded, a spark in her eyes. I returned home, the bottle of our first vintage on my desk. I traced the label, a quiet satisfaction settling over me. My revenge wasn't about breaking them. It was about breaking their entitlement. The vineyard was no longer mine, but its legacy was alive, open to those who valued its roots. Maybe one day, my daughters would walk these rows as equals, not heirs.